Light within my heart, light within my thoughts, light within my words. May one and all and everything, blessed and loved ever be. Welcome. I am Sister Who. Today I wanted to just offer some thoughts on the question, we're different. It kind of, from an amusing perspective, it would be like myself meeting someone and asking, are you the one who's different or am I? But obviously it's kind of like with speech, asking which of the two of us has an accent. Well, we both do. They're just different. It depends on who's doing the talking. Differences ideally would empower us to handle more situations and more challenges than we would otherwise be able to handle. I mean, kind of like the fingers on my hand. They're all different, and you couldn't rearrange them and still have the hand work the way it does. As far as the length of fingers and so forth, there's a reason that our hands are shaped the way they are, allowing for grasping and all sorts of movements. The idea of asking about differences is first of all to measure and figure out what the difference is, and then to figure out what sort of activities that difference would empower. For whatever reason, I don't know what the reason is, but I've always found differences fascinating. From the time I was very small, I'd meet someone who was perhaps dressed in unusual clothing because they were from a foreign country or something, and I just had this temptation to run up and ask him what it meant and where they're from, and it was so beautiful and colorful. I just want to know all about it. But of course, that would have been considered rude behavior because they weren't there to provide a sociology lesson for me. They were simply trying to live their own life and do their own tasks, get their own challenges met, that sort of thing. But it's the curious the double not double whammy, but it's those who have been labeled different and excluded. Because they have that experience, they know how to do that same thing to other people. And unfortunately, sometimes we slip into that without even realizing it. So that those who have been ostracized, as soon as they become a group, suddenly they're ostracizing others. One would think that anyone who has experienced being excluded would never do exclusion because they know from experience how oppressive it is. And yet, again and again and again, we see examples with marginalized populations where they create their own pressure to conform within them. For GLBT people, one of the common names for this, I guess, would be what's called a Castro clone, that during a certain period of time in the district of San Francisco, the Castro, where lots of gay and lesbian people lived, the appearances became standardized and trendy, and well, then suddenly everybody wanted to look like they were wearing the in fashion for the day or something, and they all began to look the same, and so whoever was the majority kind of became the definition of what everyone was supposed to be, and so they started referring to them as Castro clones, so that even within the gay and lesbian population of San Francisco, they were running into problems of people who didn't look like Castro clones not being as welcome or as accepted. There are gay lesbian groups around the country who, because they may live in areas that are more homophobic about certain things, they want to appear more like heterosexual people in order to get at least that artificial kind of tolerance, which is really not acceptance. It really isn't. But it's, I've heard people say, well, they won't pick on us if we don't ruffle their feathers or rub them the wrong way or irritate them or challenge them in any way. Well, yes and no. They won't irritate you to a point, but you'll never matter to them. And so because of that, when it comes down to something that really matters, they won't stand up for you. The person who does not champion diversity really doesn't care what type of characteristic the particular individual group has. The person who champions diversity, you can bring in somebody new, or it doesn't matter what you bring through the door. A person is a person is a person. With all of that in mind, and perhaps I'm stumbling a little bit as I'm trying to get to the point here, but it's first we, the way the language evolved. First we had gay people, then we had gay and lesbian, then we had gay, lesbian, and bisexual, and then we had gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender. And just because most really public places use the full acronym GLBT now, or LGBT, depending on who goes first, gays or lesbians, it's semantics. The point to me is that there be equal regard for all, that there be a person is a person is a person, and that every person deserves love, deserves opportunities, deserves dreams, deserves to have their needs met. Over the years, I've had a number of friends who were trans people, and one of them was a particularly brilliant artist and inspired me and continues to inspire me. And I think would be another one of those people who would be labeled chronically and persistently different from presumably the beginning all the way through. I don't really know much about this person's life before age 20, other than that it was in a very religious background. But from the time I met this person and she began her transition, she was always an extremely creative, gifted person with a beautiful voice, incredibly talented individual. And yes, she was different, but it didn't occur to me to be offended by the difference. I just found all the differences fascinating. But in trying to understand how the world looked from her perspective, and what was at the heart of being a trans person, and how could you, kind of like peeling off the layers of an onion. We think we know what something is, and then we peel off another layer and find out what's inside of it. And so I was trying to figure out, because I knew this person first as a man, then as a trans, then as a woman, and so on rare occasions I would slip and things would get time warped inside my brain, and I'd like, no, that was then, this is now, he is now she, and it's a little bit challenging, and I wanted to be generally supportive. I mean, that wasn't the issue, and I had no problem accepting that the change was real, but I was trying to figure out what is the common thread through all that. And what I finally decided is that it was the soul of the person is what remained constant, and that to begin to see the soul as something that did not have inherent gender, but it did have an inherent consciousness or perspective, that there was memories and ways of interacting with life that were central to that soul. And so in trying to really look at being a trans person from the inside out, not in extreme depth, but in some sort of poetic, concise sort of way, I wrote this song for her, and then allowed her to be the first one to ever perform it in public. And she continues to inspire me, but the tragic thing is that as time went on, her circumstances became more and more difficult, and I didn't have the resources to intervene. There was nothing I could do, and ultimately it was the maintenance man and I who found her body after she committed suicide. And on one sense it's tragic, and somebody might say it's over, that's the end, etc., but it's really not, because she inspired so many people and she left so many creative, wonderful things behind that I still remember her more or less all the time, and she continues to inspire me, and when I need to brainstorm how to resolve a certain challenge, I think, well, what would Lily do? And how would Lily perceive this? And I imagine a conversation with her, and frequently the answer does come. But in trying to really empathize with what she went through, this challenge of discovery of a difference so profound that 100 years ago nobody would have believed you, and now we seem to accept that it's been measured and examined and tested, and seems to be true. And more people who have these sorts of issues are finally able to address them rather than censoring them and burying them and committing suicide over them. But we still need to create a world that is ready to welcome these people, a world that is ready to say a person is a person is a person is a person, and your job is about what you can do, not about who you are. And that together we can solve any challenge, but we have to work together, all together. In any case, where the song first started coming together was in recognizing the basic core element of the soul. And so this is a song called My Soul Knows Its Face. For so very long I remember my reflection wasn't me, but a different form and a different norm, something I was supposed to be. I remember touching others with hands that weren't my own. I remember being something that's no longer so unknown. Now my soul knows its face, and my heart finally knows its place. There's still a chance that my feet will dance, and my voice will sing out my true name. The music of my heart and hands, a holy mystery forever stands. For love unknown within has grown to become the gift of me. I remember being hungry for love without demands. I remember being lonely in a world of shifting sands. I remember to the moment when the sun began to rise. I remember the revelation and tears of joy within my eyes. Now my soul knows its face, and my heart finally knows its place. There's still a chance that my feet will dance, and my voice will sing out my true name. The music of my heart and hands, a holy mystery forever stands. For love unknown within has grown to become the gift of me. Do you share with me the memory of life that wants to start? Would you share the great discovery of courage of the heart? Would you make the great commitment to be who you really are? Can we finally stand together to fill the night with stars. My soul knows its face, and my heart finally knows its place. There's still a chance that my feet will dance, and my voice will sing out my true name. The music of my heart and hands, a holy mystery forever stands. For love unknown within has grown to become the gift of me. For love unknown within has grown to become the gift of me. And at the beginning of all that is the essential discovery that different is not wrong. Different is simply different. And when we begin to understand our own difference from others and others' difference from us, then we can figure out the best way to hold hands in a circle, or in whatever shape or configuration serves the need, serves what needs to be done. You know, maybe we need to hold hands in rows and march forward as an army of humanity committed to peace and committed to being together and to marching hand in hand with everyone around us. It seemed to me ridiculous to hear the various arguments about what is gay and what is not gay. And initially those who were willing to be out were drag queens and leather people and people in outlandish costumes and certain other gay people who weren't as comfortable with being totally out or totally known to be gay or lesbian, or maybe they simply didn't have interest in those directions, and they wanted to, then they would distinguish themselves, and their friends would say, well, you say you're gay, and I saw pictures in the newspaper of the gay pride parade, and there's all these drag queens. That's what you are? Well, no, that's not what I'm like. Well, it comes back to the definition of different. What person on earth is competent, is a worthy choice for representing all heterosexual people? I can't think of a single one. There's men, there's women, there's every race, there's tall, there's short, there's thin, there's heavy people, there's people with disabilities, there's people of different ages. Who is competent to represent all heterosexual people? Well, no one, of course. Just as there really isn't anyone who is the last word, the best representative of any other category. There is no one gay person, there is no one woman, one man, one African American, one black person, one Asian person, one disabled person. There's no one person who can represent everybody. Everybody's unique and different. And the point is to celebrate those differences and to find the dance that our feet want to do and our voice wants to sing. To let our hearts guide us and our hands do the work of showing the world just how wonderful and special we are, rather than hiding it because, well, I'm not like them. My suggestion for a gay pride parade to address that was simply to have every gay pride parade start with a row of 15 or 20 people spanning the entire width of the street, and to have people in that row arranged for maximum contrast. So we would have a drag queen arm in arm with a leather person, arm in arm with an office worker, with a doctor, a nurse, a postman, a policeman, a sanitation worker, an office worker, a homemaker, a gardener, a landscape architect, a retail sales manager, a car salesman. Every conceivable difference you can think of, the young, the old, the teenager, the person who has been, who just came out and lo and behold, she's 62 years old now, or the man who just came out and he's 45. there's such incredible diversity, and it should be celebrated, not censored simply because somebody might misunderstand. Well, without dialogue, of course, there's not going to be understanding. If you have to go in a library and pick out a book judging just by its cover and never discovering the differences within each book, you will never be able to pick out the best book. You need to look at what the content is and understand that a library has thousands, if not millions, of volumes. Millions, especially if you go to the New York Public Library. In any case, if every person is a book, and every page in the book is different, so that each person is a package of differences, and then you get a package of differences next to another package of differences next to another package of differences, hopefully it's perfectly obvious to see why you can't get any one person to represent all, except perhaps in a official represented capacity, but not as a visual representation. So the way to create a world that's big enough for all the diversity in the world is to bring all that diversity out where it can be accepted and where we can simply smile and say, a person is a person is a person is a person, and different is not bad. And if you want to be different, how do you want to be different? And if you answer me, I want to be different just like him, I'll say, nope, no, can't do that. You got to be different just like you. It's not about acting gay or acting straight, both of which are very homophobic terms, actually. It's about acting like yourself and understanding that you have commonalities with the rest of the human race. You even have commonalities with people you may not want to have commonalities with. We're all people. And because of those differences, we have more capacities instead of less. But we have to give ourselves the freedom to disagree, the freedom to be different, and the opportunity to dialogue about those differences, and to make sure that nobody is excluded. The only one who would have to be excluded, I suppose self-excluded, would be the one who cannot respectfully, peacefully engage in civil dialogue, who cannot allow there to be a world in which the differences don't have to be hidden and repressed and made into a source of trouble. A difference is like a symbol. It doesn't have any power or value one way or the other in and of itself. It just is what it is. It only has the power or the meaning or the significance that we give to it. What I am recommending is that our differences be our mutual, collective, and individual empowerment. Communities renew themselves by nurturing their individuals, no matter how anomalous those individuals may be. No matter what the differences, communities can nurture individuals to say, I don't want you to act straight, I don't want you to act gay, I want you to act like you. How would you act? And if you don't know, go look in the mirror, go take an art class, go work in the garden, do whatever you need to do to discover who you are and what makes you tick. And what are your differences, the thing that make you unique. And then discover what are the things that you have in common. Because the communities renew themselves by nurturing their individuals, no matter how anomalous those individuals may be. But individuals survive by contributing to their communities. If you don't know your community, you're not going to be able to make your contribution, and no one will know all the beautiful, wonderful things inside of you and the things that make you unique that are to everyone's benefit. If it's about nothing more than me, you're stuck in narcissism, and Narcissus died staring at his own reflection. If you want to live, it's about finding what is unique and different and wonderful in you, and finding ways that can empower your community, and to figure out where your contribution is needed and how your contribution is needed, and to find the face of your own soul, the face that will remain consistent for the most part throughout time, throughout any changes that life brings your way, throughout any discoveries about yourself you might make. Still you have your soul. Don't give it up just because somebody wants money for it. You know, people talk about selling your soul to this or that company or for this or that income. When the tornado hits and the house is knocked down and the business district is destroyed and all we have left is each other, your soul will be what matters. And the ability of your soul to act wisely and to love other souls around you. Ultimately, we're all in this together, and all we really have is each other. For as long as we're here, to do whatever good we can, to dance in whatever way we can, to link arms, like my suggestion for a gay pride parade, and march down the street saying, we don't have to be just the sum of our past. We can march to a different drummer. We can start today to build the world that is the global community we should have always been. The one governed by love and wisdom instead of by prejudice and expectation. The one in which different is not at all bad, as long as difference is something we discuss, something we share, and something that, like a grand orchestra, we bring into harmony.